And for more on cloud computing, we're joined by Scott Schober. He's president and CEO of Berkeley Varitronic Systems. Scott, good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Michelle.
So everybody's buzzing about this hacking of the Jennifer Lawrence, Kate Upton accounts. It's a big concern, and it's really highlighted the vulnerability of these services. The question is, can you ever delete what's on the cloud? Nude pictures, for example, and potentially other incriminating or embarrassing information. Can you go onto the cloud and get rid of that forever?
It's a good question. Certainly, if we take our phone and we delete a picture, it's gone off of our phone, but it's residing on the cloud somewhere. And there's multiple spots, obviously, if we're storing on the cloud.
But do you, as the consumer, ever have access to that place in the cloud where it's all stored?
No, we don't really know where it is stored. It could be in one coast or another. It could be in another country. And there's a lot of redundancy in it as well. And it's kept for years, too. Sometimes 2, 3, 4 years, they'll keep backups of this.
So who has access to this?
Well, it's really the big companies that you mentioned there, the Microsofts, the Googles, the guys putting the money behind all of this infrastructure in these giant data centers.
Well, one of the concerns is the idea of intellectual property, of who owns this. Steve Wozniak, one of the Apple founders, he voiced his concern, saying that with the cloud, you don't own anything and you're signing it away. Are you implicitly giving your consent for that data to be freely used by whoever's running the cloud?
Well, Steve's a brilliant man, of course. I agree with him. The perception is that it's your data, it's private, but reality is, as we could see here, he was certainly right. What you put out there, you got to think twice before you put it out there, because it's out there for a free-for-all on the underground market. People sell it.
But even if you choose to not put anything on the cloud voluntarily, mobile apps and PC platforms, they upload things automatically. For example, iCloud and Google Plus photos are automatically sent up to the cloud. Is there a way to opt out of that?
Yes, you can opt out of it, but you got to be savvy enough to understand how to opt out of it, number one. And also you want to keep in mind, how do they actually get access to it? And it's really about the security. You have to be understanding what the levels of security are, how to implement them, so people can't hack and actually take those things off the cloud.
Other than the hackers, what guarantee do you have that the information that you've put up there is not going to be compromised?
Not much in a guarantee. I'm very careful what I put out there myself. I don't have my photos go out
But
on
even
the cloud.
if it's legal documents or accounting information, or if it's a company's earnings reports and such, before they leaked open to the public?
Yeah, not much guarantee.
Well,
High risk.
That is very reassuring. Do you think that this will then perhaps affect the future growth of this industry? Are people now thinking twice about this?
A good point. It's still going to happen. You look at the billions of dollars that are being spent behind the big push to the cloud. It's going to happen. What's going to happen more so, though, is security measures will be taken. Everything from the consumer level to the higher end up at the data level and giant servers. They're going to be making giant leaps and bounds in security and improvement. It has to happen for it to be successful.
But is there a turning point now anyway? Are we ever going to go back to storing things on thumb drives and on servers? People are so used to starting to watch a movie on Netflix on their iPad and then carrying on the rest of it at home. Is there a point to turn back now?
I don't think so, because there's such a big push and momentum behind it. You can't just simply go back. There'll be a small percentage of people that'll still work off of flash drive and things like that, but more and more, all the applications and the infrastructure is cloud-oriented. So we're all going to be using the cloud, whether we like it or not in the next few years.
Are there alternatives?
There's not much out there that's an alternative. This is such a momentum, and this has been building for years. It's not something new. It's just we're learning a lot more about it with more smartphones. There's more smartphones out there than there are people. Everybody, it's growing every day. And a lot of countries, you look at China and other areas, it's exploding. And that's where they're spending a lot of money for these data centers, for storage, for cloud computing.
Well, where do you forecast the industry to be in the next 5 years?
Oh, I see it shooting up, tenfold easily, because the throughput and the consumer's appetite for just more data and more video and content, it's all leaning toward that. The answer there is the cloud. The part that they got to fix is get the security right.
And who do you see as the industry leader in this field going forward?
Well, obviously, Google, Amazon, Apple, they do have great security measures. Don't get me wrong. They have to inform the consumers to beef it up and improve it.
How can you, as a consumer, protect yourself better against a breach?
Beautiful question. Number one, passwords. I always tell everybody passwords. Everybody says, yeah, but they don't do it. Complex passwords, 15 characters, capitals, lowercase, numbers, put the exclamation
Can't
points in
remember
there.
all the passwords for all the different
Can't
sites.
remember them. It's hard. And then the number one thing that really, it's an opt-in, and what failed in the case of a lot of these breaches or vulnerabilities, they didn't have two-factor authentication. So user ID, which is usually your email, your password, and then a third aspect, which is it texts you when you log in, a code on your phone, and you enter that in, and that's a changing code. That's the safest proven method, but you have to do it. Most people don't do that. They're lazy.
It was also interesting that there was a breach there that they didn't give a number of tries for the password. Usually that successfully locks you out if you're trying to.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that was a vulnerability. So Apple won't admit that that was a breach in that particular case, but it was a vulnerability. That was a bad mistake, especially with the upcoming announcement September 9th. Bad on Apple, but they got that corrected very quickly. Within 5 tries, they dump you off now.
All right. Well, very interesting. Thank you so much. We're going to have to leave it there.
Thank you.
Scott Schober, President and CEO of Berkeley Barotronic Systems.